And I think in the spirit of starting small, I know you worked on a bunch of new products at Square. And everything from ideas that came out of hackathons. I know you shipped a bunch of new features on very scaled, massively distributed products. And I think in any new initiative, any new product, even a founder doing a 0 to 1, the MVP becomes super important. So as you yourself experience these different contexts at Square, how does thinking about an MVP change across these various scenarios?
Yeah, I think there's this concept called the riskiest assumptions test. At the essence of it, I think it's how I inherently think about the MVP. So it's not just what you can build that customers can use, not just like the functionality, but what do you need to learn in order to continue investing your time or energy or money or any other resources to keep building that product or business. And so a lot of the key assumptions that you need to validate really depend on the stage of that business or product. So one of our VPs loved this framework that I started adopting, which is this concept of a pioneer, town settler, or city planner. 0 to 1 products and startups are usually in that pioneering phase. You're heading out into the wild. The pioneering effort requires risk takers and those who are interested in building a road that few have traveled before. In these situations, you want to test out assumptions like, do potential customers care about solving X, Y, or Z problem? If so, how acute is that problem for them? And would they be willing to pay for someone to solve it? Is the technology even ready and available to solve it? And do I, as like a builder in that category, have the right skill sets to even build a solution to that problem? And then is the market even large enough to create a viable business model with that solution in mind? So those like pioneering efforts are much more, is there something here? There's usually big risks, but also big rewards at that stage. And that's what draws a lot of pioneers to those efforts. I think the next phase of that, the framework uses this idea of town settler, and you can think of town settling as served by those who can create organizations amongst ambiguity. So using the same metaphor, there's often some structure, like think of an early town with some semblance of a road, maybe has a post office and a bank, but nothing else. So in that stage, a beginner's mindset and learning about what people want or how things could be is super essential. Where like pioneering might start with a strong vision and alignment on unproven goals, town settling is more about scaling something that has already shown initial signs of working with some product market fit. For me, that I encountered that stage of product building my first product at Square Invoices. That was the Hack Week project you mentioned. Started just showing incredible signs of some product market fit. Customers were trying to use it in the most hacky ways to request payments from their customers. It had key feature gaps. It wasn't the most intuitive software to use. And it sometimes even made our merchants' lives a little bit harder, but they needed that way to request payment from their clients. And so they were willing to go through the most ridiculous hoops to accomplish one task. And to me, that's when you know you really have product market fit, when customers use the product in a way that it wasn't intended, or when they use it even though there's massive product experiences that are broken. So our team started with 5 people. It was myself, 3 engineers, and a designer. In about 3 years, we scaled the product and the team to one of the top 3 revenue drivers for the Square business. And I think we did that by the team just deeply understanding the early customers and their needs. The key assumptions we were testing out at that stage to find that next chapter of growth were questions that were more like, are there more customers like our early adopters that are in adjacent markets that we could win? What were some of the go-to-market channels that we would need to invest in to find similar customers that were in those profile segments? If we made core web and mobile surface area improvements and made the product overall easier to use, would we retain or encourage new adoption? And then just at the highest level, like what were the reasons that customers either switched to the Square solution or switched away from our solution using more of like the jobs framework? So there was clear product market fit. We had something 0 to 1, but how do we grow and scale it at that phase? And then to go back to our framework, the city planning, all about massive scale. City planners are focused on the most mature products. You usually need efficiency experts, scalable processes, strong communications, distributed decision-making via some core principles that can permeate throughout the organization. In my last role at Square, not at Block, but at Square, I worked on our core payments products organization. Payments is the largest revenue driver for the company. This role required my team to span senior product folks owning aspects from like international and new market expansion to creating efficient growth levers and cutting costs to building new payment types and methods. So every single one of our initiatives required several large teams at Square working together, engineering platforms, risk, legal, creative, everybody. I don't think a single product release had fewer than 50 contributors to thank for making it possible at that scale. One of our most significant product launches was the tap to pay feature that allowed merchants to use their phone without the little white reader. So you could, tap the back of your iPhone or Android using the NFC capabilities to read a card or a mobile wallet. You can probably imagine how many cooks are in the kitchen when you have to try to forge a deal with the likes of an Apple to make something like that happen. And I guess, as is typical in the city planning stages of that product or business, it's all about testing assumptions on efficiencies that can be gained for the business. So could we get the right economics in place? Would it cap us for any future growth for this technology or with our customer base? How would the partnership work in different countries? What about with like technology and new payment methods in the future? So thinking through like the set of questions that in a more mature product environment, you just have different questions than the other phases when deciding whether to invest more, move forward with the opportunities, and then how to define that right MVP to learn about all of those pieces.
Love this 3-step framework. So
Sweet.
pioneers, town settlers, and city planners. You already have given me my hook for this podcast episode. The previous episode was on doing a 0 to 1 in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And we had 2 cybersecurity founders and engineering leaders in that. And one of the key things that they shared, because MVP has become a very distorted concept in general, both in the startup world and in the operating world, in even larger companies. And they mentioned something interesting, which was in cybersecurity, and they sell to enterprise customers. They said for an MVP for an enterprise customer is you don't build every feature, but whatever you deliver has to work. Right. So it comes down to the riskiest assumption that you spoke about, that, hey, that one key feature, that one job to be done, which is probably what you are solving in a unique way as a product. And that's why a customer is interested in you. It has to still work. Right.
Exactly. If you don't have that trust that the product works, you don't have a foundation to build up upon. And so whether it's cybersecurity, where I don't want anything getting through, or it's fintech, where I don't want to lose my money, that piece is core and fundamental. And you have to decide, all right, that should be an assumption. That should be table stakes. And now what else do I need to learn to see if there's a business here?